What is your relationship with YoungBoy, if any?
Since y'all want to post anything, you'll post it. YoungBoy my favorite rapper.
You are disqualified from saying anything to Kentrell. NLE Choppa, you have been disqualified.
NLE Choppa, and I got that found me, and I'm round Houston. What's up?
No, nigga.
Puss ass. While we outside with that ready to quake out.
Y'all know what the you did. You came and hid behind security. You was a
The feud between NLE Choppa and NBA YoungBoy didn't start with a single diss, a single tweet, or a single moment. It built slowly, quietly, underneath the surface of two careers rising in the same era, fueled by competition, fan comparisons, industry whispers, and a culture that constantly pits artists against each other. To understand how the tension reached the point where the internet labeled them rivals, you have to go back to their early years, right before they were household names, right before the charts, the viral moments, and the global fan bases. Both artists emerged in a generation where young rappers weren't just musicians. They were symbols of raw emotion, pain, survival, and authenticity. Their music captured the mood of a new era, loud, unfiltered, emotional, impulsive, and deeply connected to the realities they came from. NBA YoungBoy, long before becoming one of the most streamed artists on the planet, cultivated a fan base that treated him like a chosen voice of the streets, someone who didn't sugarcoat his struggles and didn't chase industry approval. His supporters embraced every flaw, every moment of vulnerability, and every outburst as proof of his authenticity. That intense loyalty built a culture around him, a culture that eventually developed into an online digital army, often ready to clash with anybody seen as competition. NLE Choppa, on the other hand, burst onto the scene with explosive energy, dynamic visuals, and a charisma that felt refreshing in a landscape full of darker, heavier artists. His breakout singles showcased a unique blend of aggression and positivity, street awareness, and self-growth. As he evolved publicly, he embraced a transformation that separated him from the typical rap narrative, promoting spirituality, health, peace, and maturity. His journey resonated with fans who admired his willingness to grow. But the more he grew, the more critics compared him to YoungBoy, saying their early sounds shared similarities, saying their fan bases overlapped, saying the industry was grooming Choppa to challenge YoungBoy's throne. And that's where the tension first sparked, not between the artists directly, but between their supporters. Fan bases began throwing shots long before either artist said a word about each other. Reaction channels debated who was the real voice of the youth.
I ain't beefing with none fool unless blood get because I'm up. If blood ain't shit or if anybody money come, I'm not beefing with none. I'm up but fool, I still crash on nigga like I'm down though. You know what I'm saying? And since y'all want to post anything, you'll post it. YoungBoy my favorite rapper.
Twitter threads dissected their styles side by side. Instagram comment sections lit up every time one dropped new music. Even media outlets played into the narrative, framing Choppa as a potential successor to YoungBoy, a label that indirectly added fuel to brewing conflict. By the time both artists started noticing the comparisons, the divide between their supporters had become a full-fledged rivalry. And once online beef starts building momentum, it becomes nearly impossible to shut down. That's how the first seeds of tension were planted, quietly, indirectly, but powerfully enough to eventually explode into one of modern hip-hop's most talked about riffs. This wasn't a feud born overnight. It was shaped by competition, fan wars, industry pressure, and an online culture hungry for conflict. And the next chapters only made things even messier. The feud escalated when outside voices, bloggers, influencers, street commentators, and even rival artists began inserting themselves into conversations about NLE Choppa and NBA YoungBoy. In modern hip-hop, third-party narratives often turn small disagreements into giant scandals. That's exactly what happened here. Every time Choppa dropped a motivational video or spoke on healing, fans of YoungBoy claimed he was switching up. Every time YoungBoy ranted online, fans of Choppa said he needed to calm down. Neither artist asked for the comparisons, but the culture kept forcing it. Things really heated up when rumors circulated online suggesting Choppa made comments about YoungBoy's legal issues and mental health. While no court documents or verified statements backed those claims, the internet ran with the narrative anyway. Several YouTube bloggers uploaded videos suggesting Choppa took shots, while others insisted YoungBoy responded indirectly through subliminal lyrics. Whether any of this was real didn't matter. The rumors alone widened the divide, Then came the infamous situation involving Kodak Black. Kodak and YoungBoy were already rumored to have tension, and when Choppa publicly showed love to Kodak, YoungBoy supporters interpreted it as choosing sides. Online narratives began painting the picture that Choppa aligned with YoungBoy's rivals, even though Choppa never stated anything explicitly. Allegations turned into assumptions, assumptions turned into theories, and theories turned into online beef. The situation escalated again when Choppa was involved in an airport altercation. Videos circulated showing Choppa defending himself during a confrontation with someone who allegedly referenced NBA YoungBoy. While Choppa maintained that the incident had nothing to do with rap beef, many viewers believed it solidified the rivalry.
NLE Choppa homeboy in this running up on me. Hey, crack ass in this NLE Choppa. And I got that found me. And I'm around Houston. What's up? Puss ass. You know what the going on with me, yeah. Free white B. 4K trade, nobody say. Yeah, his partner ran up on me, cracked him in the with a Hennessy bottle. Bust his little face all open. Blood everywhere. And I got that found me. Is you y'all hiding behind security, cuz. On Jesus Christ, when we brought that out, y'all know what the you did. You came and hid behind security. You was a nigga. On Jesus. You hid behind security and threw a bottle in my head, but you gangster. You talking about, cuz, nice ass. You doing this for real. On Jesus. And your ass can't come to Memphis. You talking about, you can't come to Memphis. Nice, cuz. Bro, great y'all at nice, cuz. Real talk, fool. Y'all, hey, but y'all, internet be quick to say I'm the hoe, but y'all just sing behind security. Y'all so dick ride, so much, y'all gonna be on bro dick, but this man on the fucking stairs while we outside with that shit, ready to quake your ass, but you in the stir behind security, and then you throwing bottles like a...
Blogs turned the clip into viral content. Fans dissected every frame, claiming it was retaliation, disrespect, or proof that the feud wasn't just online. Meanwhile, YoungBoy was going through major legal battles and releasing some of the darkest, most emotional music of his career. His fans believed the entire world was against him, including other rappers. So whenever Choppa said anything remotely symbolic or spiritual, YoungBoy's supporters viewed it as a subtle jab. Whenever Choppa dropped a song with a similar cadence to YoungBoy's style, critics accused him of copying. Whenever Choppa made a statement about negativity in the industry, blogs twisted it into a possible diss. It didn't help that YoungBoy rarely clarified anything. His silence became gasoline. Every time he remained quiet, fans filled the blanks with their own interpretations. And when he did finally say something vague or cryptic, supporters amplified it tenfold. This phase of the feud wasn't about violence. It wasn't about music. It was about perception, a dangerous force in the world of hip-hop. And perception alone was enough to turn two rising stars into enemies in the eyes of millions. The tension reached its peak when both artists began releasing music that fans believed contained subliminal messages directed at each other. In hip-hop, subliminal shots are often more powerful than direct disses because they spark debate, fuel theories, and create viral content instantly. NLE Choppa and NBA YoungBoy never released full-blown diss tracks toward one another, but the culture didn't care. Listeners were determined to connect dots, whether those dots existed or not. YoungBoy's catalog around this time was filled with raw emotion, distrust, anger, and wounded pride. Songs that addressed betrayal or fake love were quickly interpreted as shots at other young rappers, and Choppa's name regularly appeared in speculation videos analyzing lyrics. Because YoungBoy was in a turbulent moment personally and legally, his fans assumed anyone successful was trying to take advantage of his circumstances. Even lines about switching sides or speaking on me went viral as fans insisted they were aimed at Choppa. Choppa also released songs with aggressive energy, confident deliveries, and spiritually charged messages. Lines about peace, healing, and growth were viewed by YoungBoy supporters as passive-aggressive criticisms. When Choppa told young artists to stop glorifying violence, blogs spun it as a jab at YoungBoy. When Choppa bragged about moving past negativity, fans twisted it into saying YoungBoy was stuck in negativity. The misinterpretation became so common that even neutral fans couldn't tell what was real anymore. The narrative grew beyond the artist's control. Commentators began treating the feud like a psychological chess match. They analyzed YoungBoy's emotional volatility, They dissected Choppa's spiritual evolution. They created storylines that placed both artists on opposite ends of philosophical battles, one representing chaos and pain, the other representing healing and transformation. It didn't matter whether the artist wanted that comparison. The culture made it anyway. Things intensified further when certain YoungBoy associates made posts that fans interpreted as threats or warnings toward Choppa.
What is your relationship with YoungBoy Eddie? Because like he clearly cared about it, right? So he dropped a record clearly taking aim at you, right? He's basically like, yo, tell people that was your favorite. Yo, you just don't pick sides of my beef.
Bro, I'm gonna be right here honest. That's one thing about me. I'm never no hater. I'm gonna keep it real, and that's all I'm gonna keep it. There's one thing about me you gonna take from NLE after every conversation, after every meeting. Nobody ever said he wasn't, because he was. There used to be all I used to bump. You know what I'm saying? It's just certain stuff happened that in the mix of all that, when you blow up and you start to see how everything is or how everything work, that's when stuff get altered. Like, I ain't never say he wasn't. Always, you know what I'm saying, he was, but...
Would you have a private conversation with him, try to, you know the funny thing about like most of obviously between like say Dirk and YoungBoy, I don't think they'll have no conversation, because that's some shit.
It's because it's blood behind it.
You're right. As much as you Vaughn, and as much as you were standing up for Vaughn, you're not trying to you weren't trying to put out a message like, man, it's on site with YoungBoy. It's not. That's not what you're. So would you have a conversation with him to at least like, bruh, I used to be locked in with this dude Vaughn. Like, man, I'm gonna stand up for any disrespect
anybody
against
should respect that. Any man that got kids, they got a girl or whatever, you should be able to respect. Like, somebody gonna stick up for that person like this. It's like one of my blood relatives, one of my folks got stepped on or something, God forbid, and somebody ain't really just have nothing to do with it, even though it came from your camp, it came from your folks. But at the end of the day, like, bro, the influence bro got, like, it's heavy, fool. All these kids seeing it, bro, like, they thinking this cool, fool. Like, it was at a point in time where, like, we knew it was smoke between them two camps.
Whether those posts were directed at him or not didn't matter. Once the internet connects two names, the story is locked in. Fans began expecting a collaboration or confrontation. They expected one artist to speak out. They expected drama. And drama is exactly what the internet kept producing. This entire phase of the feud showed how unpredictable modern rap culture is. Neither artist needed to say anything directly. Fans, blogs, and social media personalities did the talking for them. And once the narrative was established, it took on a life of its own. By now, the feud was no longer just speculation. It was a cultural storyline, a storyline fans were emotionally invested in, and it wasn't slowing down. This chapter of the feud took a dramatic turn when NLE Choppa publicly embraced a lifestyle centered on positivity, meditation, and spiritual growth. To many fans, this transformation represented maturity. To others, it felt like a direct contrast to YoungBoy's darker aesthetic. The industry and media noticed the contrast and seized it instantly, framing the two artists as symbols of opposing paths, one preaching peace, one fighting demons. Even though Choppa never targeted YoungBoy directly, the timing of his transformation fed into the narrative that he was distancing himself from the aggression usually associated with YoungBoy's music. Blogs turned his interviews into headlines suggesting he was talking down on rappers who glorify violence. Comment sections exploded with YoungBoy fans arguing that Choppa was sending subliminals. And even though the statements were general, the internet treated them like direct shots. At the same time, YoungBoy was enduring intense legal battles, public scrutiny, and a high-pressure environment that affected every aspect of his life. Instead of falling back, he released a massive wave of music, darker, deeper, more emotional, sometimes more aggressive. His songs reflected paranoia, pressure, betrayal, and the weight of the world on his shoulders. Fans believed he was addressing multiple people in his lyrics, and Choppa's name ended up connected to theories again and again. This contrast, spiritual enlightenment versus emotional chaos, fueled the internet's obsession. Reaction channels created entire video essays comparing their philosophies. Bloggers claimed Choppa represented evolution, while YoungBoy represented raw pain. Supporters began treating the feud like a symbolic war between two lifestyles. Then came the viral clips of Choppa speaking about generational trauma, healing, and walking away from negativity. YoungBoy fans argued he was indirectly criticizing the emotional tone of YoungBoy's music. They flooded comment sections calling Choppa fake, performative, or preaching positivity because he's scared. Meanwhile, Choppa supporters argued YoungBoy's fan base was overly sensitive and unwilling to let artists grow. The feud became spiritual warfare online, even though neither artist said anything about each other directly. And that's what made this moment so strange. The internet essentially manufactured a philosophical rivalry between two young men who were simply living their lives. Still, the tension remained. Fans believed energy was being exchanged. Fans believed subliminals were being thrown. Fans believed the feud was deeper than what was shown publicly. Even moments of silence were interpreted as strategic moves. At this stage, the feud wasn't just about rap. It was about identity, growth, and the culture's need to create heroes and villains. And the final blow-ups were yet to come. The breaking point of the NLE Choppa versus NBA YoungBoy feud arrived when YoungBoy began firing subliminal shots publicly. Not necessarily at Choppa, but at anyone he believed spoke negatively about him. His comments about industry people picking sides and artists choosing enemies for clout lit social media on fire. Fans instantly assumed these comments were aimed at Choppa, especially given the ongoing tension. Around the same time, Choppa was involved in a heated back and forth with fans online after footage resurfaced of individuals claiming YoungBoy was being disrespected. Although the altercation didn't involve YoungBoy himself, the narrative once again connected the two artists. Commenters said Choppa was provoking YoungBoy's fan base. Others argued he was defending himself. But regardless of interpretation, the story reignited the rivalry in full force. YoungBoy supporters began flooding Choppa's online spaces with messages, antagonizing him and demanding a response. Meanwhile, Choppa's own fans defended him, firing back with their own posts and videos. The feud turned into a digital battlefield, thousands of comments, tweets, and reaction videos flooding the internet. Even neutral fans couldn't escape the discourse because every hip-hop page was covering the drama. Then came the music. YoungBoy dropped tracks filled with coded messages about betrayal, fake friends, and artists pretending to spread positivity while secretly benefiting from his downfall. These lyrics, though not named, were interpreted once again as shots toward Choppa. The internet doesn't need explicit names. It just needs a narrative, and it already had one. In response, Choppa dropped tracks with bars about standing firm, letting go of false energy, and not fearing negativity. Again, these weren't explicit disses, but the culture treated them like spiritual countermoves. Fans read between the lines, created theories, and convinced each other that the feud was escalating into something deeper. This constant back and forth made the feud one of the most dissected rivalries of the new generation. Not because of violence, not because of direct insults, but because of symbolism, timing, and the way both artists' careers were framed against one another. At this point, the feud had become part of the culture's fabric. Fans were invested in the storyline. Reaction channels depended on it for views. Influencers harvested it for clout. And neither artist could say anything online without being accused of addressing the other. This stage of the conflict shows how modern rap beef is built, not through direct aggression, but through internet narratives that spiral out of control the moment fans believe there's tension. And this tension was now so big that it became unavoidable, even if neither artist wanted it. Eventually, the feud began cooling down, not because the internet wanted it to, but because both artists started moving forward with their own lives, music, and transformations. YoungBoy shifted his focus to new projects, new relationships, and a new era marked by introspection and intense emotional output. Choppa continued evolving spiritually, building a lane that blended rap, healing, wellness, and empowerment. As time passed, the tension naturally faded, but the story remained one of hip-hop's most fascinating examples of how the culture creates and resolves conflict. Today, fans recognize the feud as a perfect snapshot of the modern rap era, emotional, internet-driven, constantly evolving, and built on perception instead of concrete actions. Most of the conflict wasn't even caused by the artists. It was caused by fan wars, media narratives, and viral content that twisted normal statements into targeted shots. It showed how dangerous misinterpretation can be when millions of people are watching. In the end, both artists grew in their own ways. Choppa embraced discipline, healing, and emotional maturity. YoungBoy embraced honesty, vulnerability, and the rawness that defines his fan base. Their stories became lessons, not about violence, but about the power of influence and how easily narratives can spiral without anyone intending harm. The question most fans ask today is whether NLE Choppa and NBA YoungBoy will ever collaborate. While nothing has suggested it, many believe time heals all wounds, especially wounds created by rumor, not reality. A collaboration would be historic, representing unity after years of tension artificially prolonged by online culture. But even if it never happens, the feud remains a reminder that artists are human, and every storyline the internet creates isn't always accurate. At the end of the day, both Choppa and YoungBoy continue dominating the culture in their own separate ways. Their impact lives on. Their music still resonates with millions. And their stories remind fans that hip-hop isn't just about conflict. It's about growth, resilience, and understanding the difference between entertainment and truth. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of modern hip-hop's most misunderstood rivalries, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more story-driven breakdowns, cultural investigations, and exclusive hip-hop narratives.